Good afternoon, podcast community. My name's Cam King. This is Three Questions Podcast, episode number 70. So I'm going to read these three questions. These questions were submitted from a friend of mine, Mackenzie, and she submitted these three questions. What's on the top of your bucket list? What does your perfect day look like? And what is your biggest fear? Why do I feel like I've already answered these? I don't know. Maybe if you're just listening to this and you already heard this podcast, this might be reviews for you. I feel like I already have these three answers. I'm just looking at these for the first time. So, as you know, Three Questions Podcast, I answer three questions. Normally, I'll have a guest on when I can. My schedule is crazy right now, but I'll have a guest on. He will answer three questions. He or she will answer three questions, 5 minutes each. That's all I do with a timer. And then essentially, these are tidbits of knowledge for you. I started Three Questions Podcast because my coaching and consulting company, where I work with entrepreneurs and teach them different systems to help them make more money, save more time, be less stressed out, more control of their lives. I was answering a lot of similar questions. So I wanted to start a podcast and also get other people's experience and insight into answering different types of questions. I do not know everything. I've made a lot of mistakes. And I'm feeling pretty vulnerable sometimes when I put these podcasts out because again, although I am a subject matter expert on some things, there is so much to learn out here. And if these podcasts help you in one little way by listening for 15 or 20 minutes, then that's all the work I put in is worth it. So without further ado, I will hop into these questions and I'll tell you more about the podcast after if you want to get in touch. Okay. So question number one. What's at the top of my bucket list? My number one bucket list item is to take my dog, Sadie, who is an 8-year-old German Shepherd, on a road trip through Italy. I want to rent a car, has to be manual, and I want to take her in December for 2 weeks or 3 weeks and want to drive all around Italy and show her all the sights. That's my number one thing. Just take a bunch of Polaroids, get a cool pair of Ray-Bans, some Hawaiian shirts, some shorts, flip-flops, maybe one suitcase, and I just want to go feed my dog steaks and bring her all around. I want to bring her over from, the Amalfi Coast, maybe Sardinia to Cinque Terre to Rome to Italy. And I just want to walk her around the city and I want to show her things. I want to take her out to dinner and sit out on really nice palazzos and venues and just meet, talk, and drink nice wine. I want to bring her around Tuscany and sip wine with her. And I want to show her my favorite places in Italy. That's my number one thing on my bucket list. And I don't know why. I've meditated about this. I've had dreams about this. I've journaled about this. And I need to do this in the next, 2 or 3 years max. I don't know. Um, I hope she's going to be mobile for forever, and I need to figure out how to make her live forever. But for me, that's just one of those weird random things that would fill my heart with so much joy. I don't need to publish anything. I just want to bring Polaroids, no phones, just maps and go from place to place and see where the wind takes us, right? I want her to see some of the things that I've seen, and I know she would love it there. So that's a pretty weird thing, but that's the number one thing on my bucket list. That would really complete a big part of my life and what I'd like to do. That dog has done a lot for me. If you don't know much about me, she's my best friend. I got her at 6 weeks old at South by Southwest, which is a music technology and art conference in Austin, Texas. And yeah, that dog has been through everything with me. And I'd bring her to work. I would never accept a job or go working for a new company unless I could bring her to work. So for me, that's been a huge goal of mine, something that I'm working towards, and hopefully I'll accomplish it this year. I need to really map that one out, and I haven't spent a lot of time journaling where it is that I want to go and imagining what that's going to feel like. So that to me is my number one thing that's on my bucket list. So we'll end it there. Short question for today. And then what does my perfect day look like? It's really, really funny. I will tell you another pretty vulnerable story, but when I was in my first long-term relationship, one that lasted 7 years, I remember it was right before we moved to Colorado, so about a year before we broke up, and we were at our house in Rhode Island, or her parents' house. And one morning, I remember she looked at me very oddly. I was not aware of this at the time, but she asked me randomly, she goes, "What does your perfect day look like?" And at the time, I was skydiving and I was CrossFitting and I was running and I was doing jujitsu and I had a side business. And I remember this is maybe 4 or 5 years ago, probably 5 years ago now. And I told her, I said, probably wake up, go for a run, and then lift for like an hour and a half, and then come and eat breakfast, and then go for a morning skydive, like a sunrise skydive, and then go hiking with Sadie all day and come back and grill some meats and maybe like go out for drink or, grill some meat, eat some lunch, do whatever, and then go to jiu-jitsu and then probably go out for some drinks. And I remember her and she just kind of looked at me like, okay. And we ended up talking about it later and she goes, no part of that included me, right? And that was a big turning point. That was a big lesson for me, something I'll never, ever, ever forget. Because if you're in a relationship, that person does want to be included in your plans. They do want to be put first. And if you're dating and you continue to put your hobbies ahead of another person, you won't be able to do that for long. I guarantee you that. But now I think for me, my perfect day, my perfect morning starts with a long period of silence. I really, really, really enjoy sitting with my thoughts for about 20 to 45 minutes, whether it's visualizing or meditating or sitting in silence. I love, love, love starting my morning out with that because I'm able to analyze all the demons, all the mistakes, all the traumas, all the little voices that tell me I'm not good enough or I'll never make it or all these little things. I deal with all of those things first thing in the morning so that they don't affect me throughout the day. And then I'm able to sort of construct a narrative about how it is that I want to go throughout my day. Like part of that meditation is me, cool, deal with all the imposter syndrome stuff, and then start constructing the narrative, right? Do a body battery check. How am I feeling? What am I feeling? Where am I feeling? Why am I feeling that in this place? And then saying, you know what, I actually have a lot of energy. I'm feeling pretty good. Here are the things that I want to do. And I'm able to sort of construct a narrative about how I want to exist in that day before that day even really takes off. So for me, it's generally sitting in a point of, I'll say silence or predictive programming for myself, and then probably going for a jog. I prefer cooler weather. I love 40s, 50s, 60s weather. And what I'll do is I love going for a morning run, whether it's a long one or not, and then just eating a big breakfast with no time and having a nice time to like enjoy a cup of coffee without anywhere to be, probably until like, I don't know, 8:30, maybe 9:15. That to me is like if that's peace and I can scroll and I can do whatever, or I can journal, or I can do breath work, or I can do a cold tub thing. I mix up my morning routine often because there's so many different things you can do that once you get in touch with your intuition, your awareness, kind of decide what it is that you need the most that day. So keeping that the time period to do those things for me is really important. I love also getting out into nature if I'm able to either lift first thing in the morning, especially after that morning period. I love going for a morning workout, and then I also love getting into nature. And whether it's going for a hike and driving an hour or two or three out to there, or going to the beach on kind of a cooler weather day, just getting into nature and being outside of that, away from my phone, is super, super important during the day. If I don't have plans with you and am already in the middle of my day, I hate just having my phone. So for me, having a phoneless day is pretty good. Like I think it's okay to come back and check on it later if you want to make plans for the evening or something, or just check in on something. But I think people need to get out of the habit of taking our phones everywhere we go all the time. I don't see how that's really beneficial for us because having time to think by myself is really, really cool. And obviously, I'm single right now, so I talk about spending the day with Sadie or my dog getting out into nature is super important for me, and I completely agree. Um, so just doing that, and then I think hanging out with friends and going with the flow of the moment would probably be something closer to my ideal day now, right? So one or two workouts, plenty of time with my dog, and enough time to maybe work on a side business or two and get some content out there or create some products to, keep revenue generating for me. And then spending time with friends, right? When I feel like for me, I have to fill up my cup and my battery first before I bring it to other people. And I'm a trained extrovert, but I'm probably normally an introvert. Like I love my alone time. I'm very protective of that. And when I have my alone time, it allows me to show up and be a trained extrovert, even though I'm probably naturally not. So I hope that kind of makes sense. That's what my perfect day looks like. Morning period of silence, some point of nature, working on my businesses, also getting in a really good workout and eating really good food, and then spending time with friends. Not so much drinking, but just enjoying their company or having a good conversation really means a lot to me. Especially with the people that I'm closest to. So hopefully that's a good answer for that question. I'll hop right into question number three, and that is, what is my biggest fear? And I'll tell you right now, this is probably not what you expected, but my biggest fear is success. Um, and I'll tell you why. I think that success scares me. I think that if I had more money than I could spend sometimes, that would probably terrify me. That would probably scare me. I almost feel like I wouldn't trust myself, or I'd make the wrong purchases, or my fear of success leads into I've had a bad habit of self-sabotage, and I probably should have addressed that in my 20s, and now here I am in my 30s, and it's still something that rears its ugly head sometimes, because self-sabotage comes from being an imposter syndrome, having imposter syndrome, or believing a false narrative that others don't believe or equate to yourself. And I have friends say this all the time. They're like, Cam, you're a strapping young lad, right? You're 6'5", you're super fit, you got all these cool businesses, you work so hard, and you're a good looking guy. Like, there's no way you have imposter syndrome, or there's no way that you actually have these anxieties. And when I do have these conversations and open up to my friends, they're really kind of they're really kind of shocked. And I'm like, hey man, I'm a normal person, right? I have depression and anxiety just like everyone has from time to time. And I do the things that fill my cup up, and I acquire so much knowledge, or I seek so much knowledge out, because these are things that I want to tackle and I want to alleviate, and I don't want others to suffer from. And so when I look at these things, or I'm able to obtain systems or develop systems or identify systems from books or podcasts or knowledge or content that I view on Instagram and TikTok, I'm able to say, okay, this is building a bigger mosaic for me. And I'm able to understand not only more of myself, but understand how the world works and also other people within it. So for me, unfortunately, I still deal with this fear of success, right? What if this podcast blows up? Or what if, enough too many people follow me on TikTok, or 100,000 people view this YouTube video? Like, I would be mortified, right? And I think that it would right now make me very nervous if all of my businesses started being really successful, and I started getting thousands of dollars each day, each week from all of my things. I think that would give me like heart palpitations. I'd be like, oh my God, what do I do now? Like, what did I do right? Like, what's the thing? What do I do with this? And until I'm able to alleviate that, or figure that out, or more deeply identify why that is, I don't think that's going to become a reality, right? So I'm almost in a way preventing my own success by having a fear of success. And that's something that I'm probably trying to deep down analyze. I will analyze that this year. And that's something that I want to turn around, because I do want to open the floodgates for financial success while also empowering other people. I don't think that anyone should fear their own success, nor do I feel that they should overly seek it. But my process of creating and all the businesses and all the content that I'm doing, from CK Collective to this podcast to my e-commerce stuff, I enjoy the practice of that. I enjoy the opportunities and the design aspects and the learning and the integrations of Shopify and this, that, the other thing, all the back end podcasting stuff. I enjoy that process. And I know at some point that it will be successful, as long as I continue to do these things and enjoy the process. If I started this podcast and I was like, damn, I've only gotten to 70 episodes and I don't even have 1,000 listens, and uh whatever, people are blowing up all over the place, I'm never going to be successful. That's fine. I know people have told me from the podcast that they've learned something and it's changed their lives. And that to me makes it all worth it, because I do enjoy the process of creating. It's helping me learn, it's helping me grow, it's helping me become more accountable. When I do that for myself, it helps me be more accountable and helpful to my clients and my friends and other entrepreneurs, and being vulnerable and admitting my mistakes, but then also saying, hey, here's a system, here's a tactic, here's a tool, here's a book that really helped me get over this thing. And here's how you can avoid this pitfall or this trap or this, conundrum, or these doldrums that you can be in for a long time. So that's why I love the sort of life coaching and business coaching stuff, or accountability coaching, whatever you want to call it. And that's why I continue to create this content, is because I know at some point it's going to help someone somewhere, whether it's now, a month from now, or, 10 years from now. So that's all I got for that question. Hopefully that answers your questions, Mackenzie. Good questions. Thanks for listening to the podcast and submitting that. If you want to get in touch or be a guest, I would love to have more females on the podcast so I can ask them more female-oriented questions. You can reach me at threequestionspodcast@gmail.com. You can find this on Spotify, on YouTube. It should be on Apple Podcasts by now. I got to double check that, actually. But leave a comment, subscribe, like, do all of those things. Send this podcast to a friend. And yeah, I really appreciate you guys listening. Hopefully you're getting something from this. And we'll see you guys in the next one.